The bright lights of Frank Drager Reserve, a light for the Hahn Australia Cup tonight. And after 7 years of wait in the West, the hosts, Bayswater, of the national stage in the Australian Championship last year. And now they are out for a sizable scalp on their round of 30. That welcomes them back. Time Cup winners, Sydney FC. Patrick Kisnorbo's men home. Grand final finish last season. "358 days ago that Melbourne Victory fell victim to Sydney FC. 11 months on, the question is, can Baysy repeat the feats? The round of 32. Both teams out of the tunnel. Champions of WA, Bayswater City, in an exciting voyage, and yet another season for Super Cup. But first, there is the small progression in Cup team. Indeed, the Sky Blues, they have twice. A couple of familiar names for Sky Blue supporters. 49-time A-League goalkeeper Luis Italiano. He dumped Sydney out of the Cup in 20. Newcastle Jets, and Perth Glory winger Daniel Steins. He's back from injuries to start tonight. He has 10 this season. Big news in goals for Sydney FC. Off-season abdominal surgery ruling out their keeper Harrison Devonish-Mears. Young Gus Hoofslot starts in his stead. Ryan Grant captaining the side at the start of season number 19 for Sydney. And their potential debutants are plenty. New signings Gabby Popovich and J-League veteran Takahiro Sakine on the bench, alongside academy talents Ethan Dyer, Alex Savadinos and Samuel Lancaster. Referee crew for tonight, Michael Ulyaris from Victoria in charge. He's got Jackson Landy and Liam Howgate in assistance. Liam Barclay is the fourth official. Frank Drager Reserve tonight. Of pleasantries between Baysy captain Luke Palmatier and Ryan Grant. Who broke Sky Blue appearance records last year, bringing up the 400. He's closing in on national round records as well. This tonight is 27th appearance in the Australia Cup. Only few can boast more than that.
Thank you for that for cooking. Now,
His team through first team talk of the new season. There's Matt Sparrow, a head coach who is no stranger to the big stage. He's a 300-game veteran of Scunthorpe United and scored at Wembley to promote them to the championship back in 2009. Two of those 300 games were actually against Patrick Kisnorbo back when he was a central defender at Leicester City. And there is Patrick Kisnorbo, just his 9th game in charge of Sydney FC after that remarkable mid-season revival to send Sydney to the grand final. Did make the Australia Cup final in his last outing in 2024. And we would love to improve on that with some early season Sky Blue silverware. There will be plenty of expectations for the side from Sydney this season, having come so close and come really out of the clouds after the exit of Ufuk Talay. He lies in wait in round 1, but it's all eyes on game 1 of the new season for Sydney. In readiness to welcome Bayswater City back to the national rounds. Sydney FC kick us off. It is a warm welcome back to Bayswater for the first time in 6 years and 362 days And it's a warm welcome to you if you're tuning in at home as well. You strapping in for the late kickoff on the eastern seaboard, watching at 6:30 local time in WA or somewhere in between. It's great to have your company regardless. The early touch from Zach DeJesus, well marshalled out of play by Paddy Lowry. Irishman, one to watch out for tonight for Sydney FC. 5 goals and 4 assists for the 26-year-old. A number of players who are having very solid seasons for Bayswater. A solid defence will be tested with an early sky blue corner. Comes the delivery. It's a nice header as well, but out of play for a second successive corner for Sydney FC. Courtney Perkins' towering frame was lingering. Second time's the charm for Sydney. Headed away by Bayswater, only as far as Tiago Kinsale. Popovic with a clever lead for Garuccio. Con on the shoulder, that's where the ball heads. Con with the early shot. Oh, it's an awkward one nearly for Luis Italiano. The little touch in front from his defensive unit could have made that very uncomfortable. And at worst, comedy capers, but showing a safe pair of hands this time. The 35-year-old veteran, formerly of Newcastle Jets and the Wellington Phoenix. Didn't have the best of luck against Sydney this time in the A-League, but it's part of one of just 2 cup sets Sydney have ever suffered, both against Oakley, as Yuli is marshalled out of play. Certainly enthusiasm from Macaulay Con. That could have been very dangerous for Jonathan Corness. It's the free kick for which Cameron Teese protested but did not receive. Strong challenge in there from Declan Hughes. WA have enjoyed recent success against A-League opposition. That aforementioned extra time epic between Kingsway and Melbourne Victory last year. DeJesus will pick up another Sydney FC corner. They are racking them up inside the opening 3 minutes. One win last year is about the only joy WA have had against A-League opponents. Just the solitary win, 6 defeats. Kinsale looks to be a slight bit of discomfort in the aftermath of that challenge. Another sharp delivery in, headed away at the front post by Bayswater's defensive rear guard. Just the start of their 4th week of pre-season, Sydney FC. They have already had 1 tune-up, a 4-0 win against New South Wales NPL outfits NWS Spirits. Looking sharp in the early knockings. We do know Patrick Kisnorbo, his previous stints at Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City as a head coach. He's placed a high emphasis on physical fitness. They're starting sharp here. Matthias McAllister marching forward, cutting it square and side-footed away by the defensive presence of Jackson Stevens. The number of guns available to Sydney this evening, both in the starting fold and on the bench. Daisy Brigade, you can see both audibly and visually making their presence known to the left of screen. Expect to hear those horns across the evening, whether you like them or not. They are a regular feature of cup football at Frank Drago Reserve. Really nice pass through the lines to find Kinsale, who rides the challenge of Steins wonderfully. Out the ball forward to Zach DeJesus. Finds the fullback in an offside position. It'll be a good sight for Sydney FC fans to get a solid look at Zach DeJesus tonight. Still only 20 years old. As the fullback who's come through the Sky Blue Academy. He's really spent last season, the majority of it, in the wilderness. Just the one appearance off the bench against Brisbane in Patrick Kisnorbo's first game in charge. That was the only time he saw the field all year. Two managers can look at the same thing very differently. And maybe Zach DeJesus will be another who gets a second look in the fledgling tenure of Patrick Kisnorbo. Just saw Wataru Kamijo on the ball there before. He's another who has relished the advent of a fresh coach. Started every single game under PK so far. Yuli. Snipped out by Ollie Lagalia. Stevens pushes the ball wide to Brent Quick. Quite quick enough that time around. Kamijo, Sydney FC starting really sharply. DeJesus. His touch just let him down at the crucial moment. Kinsale. With a little flick from Kamijo will be picked up by the Bayswater back line, and that's of Kobe Sutton. Clever body positioning from the Baysy fullback. It was a thrilling comeback to send them to the national rounds for the first time in 7 years against Perth Red Star. One of a number that they have had throughout the season. Baysy, they are bounce back specialists. Back foot early doors against the A-League Colossus. Really clever pass from Yuli. Akolakon with room to roam, and play is going to be stopped, I believe, for the offside infraction over on that opposite end of the ground, which has a milling contingent of Bayswater fans both inside the Jerry Mayo stand and in front of it. It was a shame for that Sky Blue move to come to an end when it did. It was otherwise rather easy on the eye. It's a little clumsy from Courtney Perkins, and there's a bit of a conversation going on between he and Cameron Teese. In the end, though, it is Teese who is going to see the ball heading the opposite way to which he wanted. Will be one for Sky Blues defensive unit to watch out for, the 27-year-old. Great patch of recent form, 7 goal contributions in his last 4 games since returning from an ACL injury that kept him out at the back end of last season and their Australian Championship campaign. Incredibly, though, it did not stop him from sharing Player of the Season honours, despite having played only 16 games last year. So his goal-scoring pedigree will provide something for the Sky Blues to ponder. Lowry can keep it in, but little more. DeJesus. So it's a task that proved too tall for Kinsale. Palmatia. Steins. Popovich wanted the free kick, didn't get, but his centre-back compatriot in Courtney Perkins will. Daniel Steins back in his native West Australia this season, after stints abroad in Finland and Ireland with Galway United. He's a player who showed flashes of a very high ceiling of quality in the A-League. Shown plenty of that so far in his return to Bayswater. 3 goals despite that injury layoff before this evening. Camijo. Plucked out of the night air by Garuccio. Cross can only find the blue and black presence of Jackson Stevens. So far, it's been a effervescent, energetic start for Sydney to the new season. Yet to really call Lewis Italiano into action. Is this a chance to change that? De Jesus gets on the motor again. It's an enterprising cross, but watched all the way by Italiano. Picked up by Teese. Bayswater still waiting to mount the first real attack of their evening's action. They've been a good goal-scoring side in NPLWA this season. One team have scored more than them. Plenty of high-scoring games across the campaign, including a 4-4 draw a few weeks ago. Haven't shown the best of themselves in that mark just yet, albeit up against a very sizable test on their national round return. Nearly past the reach of Courtney Perkins, who just has to double back in the presence of the interested party that was Cameron Teese. It's really been the only blot on Sydney FC's copybook in the early knockings. A couple of slightly casual offsides. Maybe you can expect that of team so early into their upcoming season. Ryan Grants. Saves again from Camijo. Those two having a little game between themselves. Broken up now by Courtney Perkins. Colacon, what a story he was last season, breaking into the senior team in style. That Derby demolition is a real high point of his year. Plenty of internationally interested parties in the 17-year-old as well, is the word. Tumbled the records as well. Youngest starter in a National League Grand Final in Australian football. Here he is again on the ball, keeping it away from the clutches of the Bayswater defence. Garuccio sets his sights for the penalty area. It is well judged by Jackson Stevens. have watched them in the last couple of seasons under Matt Sparrow, be it in the NPL or in the Australian Championship, will know that this Bayswater defence can be particularly tricky to breach, particularly from those crossing positions with the towering defensive unit that they've got between Jackson Stevens and Luke Palmateer. Incredible record-breaking 15 goals shipped all campaign last year. Slightly behind that figure this year, but still formidable at the back. And there's evidence of this game so far as they're going to have to beat. The 2026 World Cup is over, but you can see against the fence, it's a call back to 2010 with the Vuvuzelas. There's a long throw for Bayswater. Well, one back. It's an early drive, watched all the way by Gus Hufslot. Kobe Sutton trying to repeat his cup feat. Gus Hufslot back in the starting keeper slot for the first time since the Australia Cup campaign last year for the Sky Blues, which ended frustratingly, just as the grand final did, at the hands of Auckland FC, this time, or that time rather, on penalties. The study last season, but what a goalkeeping year he had to learn from in Harrison Devonish-Mears. Quintal. Grant, he is copping the brunt of the Vuvuzelic cacophony over his right shoulder. Hahn robbed of the ball. Cornest. Teese was a little bit clumsy in his attempts to restore possession to the hosts. And credit to them, have really packed themselves into Frank Drago reserve to be part of a special evening for this 65-year-old club. Camijo stolen in, and just as Sydney FC thought they were away, after a brief moment of ponderance, Michael Yaris does elect to award Bayswater City a free kick. Say that angle leaves you some level of sympathy for the youngster. He's an armada of Vuvuzelas against the fence. Those are going to explode if Bayswater City find the net tonight. Bashing down the defensive door, Sydney FC, but they have been very easy on the eye in this build-up play. This might be an opportunity to change that. Akon cuts it back. Quintal! It's fantastic! It's quite the way to pop the cork on the new season for Sydney. And Tiago Quintal is the man who picks up where he left off in the previous season, with the full stop on a very fancy flourish from Sydney. And this build-up that had been threatening to go bang finally does. Quintal drilled it across the face of goal after a clever cutback from Akolakon. The power from the 20-year-old winger who really had a breakout year last season. He's started a new campaign as he intends to go on. What a talent, and what's a move to open 26-27 for the Sky Blues. Chance for Bayswater perhaps to answer back. Well, retrieved by a Colacon. Stevens. Will sit for Steins. Will win Bayswater their first corner of the evening. Finally, Sydney FC's defence will have something to think about after 20 minutes played. Well defended, covered by Wataru Kamijo. Steins only needs moments to show his quality. In comes the delivery, well won by Courtney Perkins, really commanding as Palmateer, the central defender, plays a great cross in. Ryan Grant has the answer. Foul on Jordan Courtney Perkins will see an end to the brewing promise of Bayswater. I cannot say Sydney FC are not good value for that early lead. A bit of a clamber through the back of Courtney Perkins. Plenty of those sorts of incidents so far this evening for Michael Ulyaris to deal with. Sydney FC, they've gotten off to a fantastic start at Frank Drago, but they will be wary of the Baysy bounce back ability that's shown itself in the local season in WA. Sparrow's side have won 6 games after going behind this year, including in the Cup, as mentioned. Second goal early doors, though, would have the Sky Blue sitting pretty. Akolakon checks onto the right, fires it into the defensive unit of Bayswater. Legalia. He's looking really sharp so far, the 17-year-old. Quintal, the scorer, looking to turn provider, but the ball in short of his best. Really did take his increased opportunity with both hands. Quintal last year, who's just turned on the style. Can't turn the ball in before it rolled out of play. How about that from the 20-year-old talent? Just didn't quite have the Jets to keep the ball in his spell at the opposite end of it all. Declan Hughes, another who's got some high-quality experience for Bayswater City, played in the Champions League with Perth Glory back in 2020. Technician for Bayswater, as there's a bit of conjecture here. Play continues and Bayswater will get themselves a free kick in a promising position. It was a bit of an odd sort of sequence. Both sets of players paused. So you can see why. The appeals for handball off the outstretched arm of Ryan Grant. No whistle. And the rush in of Gabby Popovich on Daniel Steins. Enough to change that equation. Pat Lowry and Cam Teese over the dead ball. It's being left to the Irishman, who certainly does have this in the locker. This will be quite the way for Bayswater to mark their return. It is Lowry! It's tipped away really nicely by Hoofslot. Had to watch it all the way through traffic, but the young Sky Blue keeper finally has had something to think about. Plenty of power behind it from the 26-year-old Irishman. Equaled by the stop. It's floaty rather than distance, that long throw. A second crack from the cross, well commanded by Hoofslot. This has been the case often in the campaign this year. It's been a real pain point for Matt Sparrow across the campaign. They play great football, they get good results in their local league, but they so often leave themselves a lot of work to do by going behind against an A-League opponent, the calibre of Sydney FC. It is quite the task indeed. They've had a chance to test the opposition keeper. That might build the Baysy belief back up again. Lowry. The pressure from Garuccio, who's come a long way from home to put the squeeze on his West Australian opponent. Bayswater looking to engage the compression tactics of their own. Waggle of the finger from Michael Ulyaris. It's been a physical fair thus far in West Australia. Kept alive by Garuccio. Akolakon. Under pressure from blue and black shirts in both directions. And one back nicely. Teese. Bit of a lone hand up top. Legalia making the run in field. Teese sizes the delivery, which is inventively dealt with by Courtney Perkins. Strong header from Stevens. Up Bayswater starting to build. Declan Hughes goes down. And it's the swift sound of the whistle from Michael Ulyaris, much to the disappointment of Matthias McAllister. He's going to have to set himself for set-piece defending despite his apoplectic protestations. He's got his first ever Sydney FC goal in the round of 32. This time a year ago, away to Western United. It's in Tarneet. It is Cameron Teese. Launched all the way by Hoofslot. Matt Sparrow did mention in the lead up to this game that really pleased with how good a set-piece side his team has been all year. On the basis of their early chances, it's looking like their most likely routes against the Sky Blues. Who again turn on the style with pretty passing play. This time, Bayswater up to the task. Steins. Clever. It's clever enough for the agile presence of Wataru Kamijo. Feels like it's opening up and getting a bit more chaotic and a bit more feisty. The first yellow card of the evening goes the way of Reece Yuli. Who shies away from a challenge, the 21-year-old. Not too many complaints about the awarding of a yellow on that occasion. It was plenty of foot, not a great deal of ball. Sent off last year against the Wellington Phoenix. Young Yuli flicked towards the penalty area. Stevens keeps it alive. Steins And will it sit here at the back post for Bayswater? It's finally gathered well and truly by Hoofslot. Brent Quick, the player, scrambling after that little stab from Steins, just caused a bit of chaos in the Sydney penalty area. It is thus far a rare moment of open play discomfort for the visitors. Let's not forget, in their 8 games under Patrick Kisnorbo, have conceded just the 5 goals, and that was against full-time pros at the peak of their season. All kept alive by Stevens, who disguised it nicely, and then Brent Quick steamed in, and had there been more convincing contact, well, those vuvuzelas against the fence would have been singing a merry but discordant tune. Quality link-up play. De Jesus expected a free kick. It never arrived. And that's up past the reach of Pat Lowry. Lagalia. Nearly sat for Quick. After the early concession, as Bayswater bring the pressure, to which Sydney FC are well up to the task of managing at the moment. It's been a reasonable rally from the reigning champions of this state since going behind to Tiago Quintal's goal. Lagalia, clever back heel. Lowry tries he might, couldn't find a gap. Quick for Teese. Tried to feed the ball back. Sydney at full stretch trying to get it away, and eventually they will get the relief of a free kick. Interesting 12 minutes to end this first half. Sydney had this one all their own way. Got the goal their dominance deserved through Tiago Quintal. Increasingly full stretch defensive challenges like that from Ben Garuccio. Sequence that eventually came to an end after Jordan Courtney-Perkins was caught from behind, are becoming a more regular occurrence. Lowry. Rounds 1, does he have the wherewithal to get past the second? Not quite, and Hoofslot can gather that. And the short rebound. Kisnorbo will be keen for his side to resettle into their early rhythm. Space in which to do that, which is not utilised to full advantage by a Colacon. Could make a bit of history tonight if he is to find himself on the score sheet. Be the youngest ever in Sky Blue history. Bayswater looking to counter, and the quick feed of Oli Lagalia have got them moving with menace. And it will earn them a corner. Cleverly defended by Gabby Popovic, or Alex Popovic, I should say. He knew that he might be under the cosh in a speed battle with Oli Lagalia. And went for the slide challenge to snuff out all the danger, or all the immediate danger. Bayswater are prepping a third corner of the evening. Decent ball in, the header's there! Bayswater are level. Another Baysy bounce back, and this time it is in the big time of the national stage. And Cameron Teese, the player in fine form, has drawn them level at Frank Drago. And after 7 years of wait, that is some way to say we are back on the national stage. And it is game on in West Australia. Well, the form book said that he would be the player most likely. It was a delicious delivery, and it said about a bit of discomfort in the penalty area. Cameron Teese was well positioned to meet a inviting delivery. And the two-time Cup winners Sydney FC are back square with the West Australian NPL outfit. And we could well have quite an Australia Cup tie on our hands. And without spoiling the results and scorelines, if you're choosing to catch up on them later, around the grounds, of course. 4 concurrent games at the moment, some of the earlier kickoffs coming towards a close. All the A-League v NPL ties are now level. Sydney FC looking to flip that script. Zakolakon drives the ball in, and it's an instant sky blue response. How good is that from Patrick Kisnorbo's men? Matthias McAllister, just as he did in the round of 32 last year, is on the score sheet to restore Sydney's lead. And they have shown all of their A-League quality and composure there. Kolakon with a pinpoint delivery. Matthias McAllister could not miss. And just as quickly as the dream became alive again for Bayswater, the Sky Blues have burst the balloon. Matthias McAllister has his second senior goal for Sydney FC. And once again, it is in the first round of the national rounds in the Hahn Australia Cup. Will have settled the sideline tensions of Patrick Kisnorbo no end. It's a game that was becoming tempestuous, one that the NPL outfit were beginning to play on their own terms. Grant busting along to win the ball, and did, wonderfully so. DeJesus Kolakon was the target. Yulee hauled back by Teese, clear as day, right in front of the eyes of Michael Ulyaris. Quintal. Firm challenge from Kobe Sutton. Sparrow, he did warn his players the experience he's got of quickly pro players can punish you for minor mistakes. It was one profligate moment in passing play from Bayswater that led to a goal in the space of a couple of passes to restore that lead in seconds. In play well by Steins. Lowry was trying to slide in the Fleet-footed Oli Lagalia, who does receive the ball from the throw. Launch the ball away after that's been awarded a Sydney FC throw in at the end of all of that. Certainly seen yellow cards given for less. McAllister, Corness was snapping in. Time pass was always working against the weight of odds from Declan Hughes. De Jesus. I've seen plenty of it in an advanced role so far this evening. It's been an entertaining return to the national rounds for Bayswater City so far, albeit a return that sees the A-League opponents in the ascendancy. Just 2 minutes between Cameron Teese's equaliser and Matthias McAllister's restoration of the lead for the visitors. Quintal. Lowry doubling back to provide extra coverage. Support found in the form of De Jesus. This cross past, must be said, was a paucity of willing and waiting heads in Sydney's attacking penalty area. McAllister. Garuccio. Colacon. He was able to the drop down for the rushing Matthias McAllister. He's hoping that he can get off to another hot pre-season start. Scored 8 in 12 last season before the start of the A-League year for Sydney FC, 19-year-old. To his 7th year with the Sky Blues. Striker position is potentially a mantle there for the taking. No Victor Campuzano tonight. Spaniard, one of a number of absentees for Sydney. This is Al-Hassan Toure. De Jesus shown where to head by Kobe Sutton. Some competitions last year. No one was able to score more than Al-Hassan Toure's 6 for Sydney. Suggestive of a striker void that is there to be filled. No more Apostolos Stamatolopoulos. De Jesus trying to make life difficult for Sutton. The cool head to prevail. Same not able to be said of Wataru Kamijo that time around. Only 20 years old, Wataru Kamijo, but versed already in the art of the tactical foul to stop a transitional moment. That one was as A1 an example as you're likely to find. Deep set piece for Bayswater, delivered by Declan Hughes. Southgate. The Jackson got up. Quintal steals in and away. Hahn comes in. Was he caught? Advantage paid. Quintal, deflected cross. All the sting relieved by that extra touch. And into the arms of Luis Italiano as we step into 2 minutes of additional time in an entertaining round of 32 tie so far. Beyond Borrow borrowed time in that additional time, because there will be a break in play to tend to players from both sides for a head clash. You can see Ollie Lagalia down on the deck after that knock. Alexander Popovich, the other. He's feeling the force of Bayswater's line leader. It's a sporting end to an incidental altercation in what's been a tempestuous at times first 45 at Frank Drago. 14 first half fouls now. Each side have given as good as they have received. Some consternation, but both sides will eventually pull their players off the field after receiving treatment. And they are back on just as swiftly as they departed. Steins trying to close down the angle. Really nicely picked off by Corness. Lowry, advantage played. A nice clip that just is past the full reach of Teese. It'll be another Bayswater corner. And we'll get the time to take it. As the altercation that sent Jonathan Corness down onto the ground. Really well back by Bayswater's player of the match in their top 4 cup winning campaign, the final series. In comes the corner. There goes the ball. Is there time enough for recycling? It's a low one. And Sydney FC have the answers. Declan Hughes steals in. Yaris quick to the whistle. Sydney FC make their case for the yellow. And indeed it does arrive. So Declan Hughes joins Reece Yuley in the book. For the first time, it is a free kick conceded that features a lot of the play got, not much of the ball. And so ends a fascinating first 45 at Frank Drago in the round of 32. Bayswater City's return is not off to a leading start so far, but it has been entertaining. Sydney FC hit the front after 20 minutes, courtesy of Tiago Quintal. Bayswater bounced back to equalise through Cameron Teese. And just as the NPL side were daring to dream, Sydney FC retook the lead, but it is all to play for on the other side of the break. A big second 45 to come from Frank Drago Reserve. Drago Reserve and the Bayswater City supporters have waited 7 long years for the return of the national rounds for their football club, and they have been treated to quite the spectacle so far against A-League opposition, even if it is the visitors who lead. Sydney FC off to a solid start in their first game of a new campaign. 2-1 they lead after 45 minutes played in Western Australia. They were a dominant force in the opening 20, as the first half highlights will reflect. Took the lead after 20 minutes played. Thiago Quintal putting the exclamation point on a very fine and flourishing move down the left flank from Sydney. Plenty of territorial dominance in the opening 20. Chances not quite as many as they would have liked when they made one count. It sparked Bayswater into life. A man in form managed to head Baysy home, their first national round goal since 2019. And just as the belief was back for Baysy at Frank Drago, with a bit of fireworks in the aftermath of that goal as well in the penalty area. As you can see, it was a really nice delivery. They've been a good set-piece side all season. Cameron Teese cleverly heading home with his cunning striker's instinct. Just as the belief was back at Baysy, less than 2 minutes later, a collar-con, a pinpoint cross, Matthias McAllister saying thanks for the silver service. And the two-time cup winners restored their lead in scything style. That did take a bit of the air out of the balloon for the host, but the stats will reflect that they are still up to their necks in this game. Sydney dominating the possession, as you would expect of an A-League opponent, especially one as tenured as this. But the shot count dead even 4 apiece. Gus Hufslot has had to make some solid saves from free kick situations, while Sydney, for all of their control, probably haven't created as many chances as perhaps Patrick Gisnorbo would have liked. So there is still plenty out there for either side in the 45 minutes, and potentially more to come after the half-time interval. And there's so much A-League and Australia Cup drama, NPL drama to sink your teeth into this evening. Still a couple of games remaining live, but Preston Lions have just knocked off the Australia Cup champions with a stoppage time goal at BT Connor Reserve. Still all to play for between Lions and Perth Glory in the other NPL A-League kickoff. And here's what we've got to look forward to across the rest of the week. Tomorrow night, a 4-game feast. Tigers welcoming the Western Sydney Wanderers to the Capital Territory. Maitland and the other WA entrant in Fremantle doing battle in northern New South Wales. The big juicy one is Sydney United against the Central Coast Mariners at Adenza Park, while the National Territory's sole representative will welcome a fearsome A-League opponent in Macarthur FC in the late kickoff tomorrow night. But still plenty to play for here at Frank Drago Reserve. It is a massive second 45 with Sydney FC in the lead. Will that be the case at full time? We'll find out after the break.
What are you doing?
We're planking.
Incredible stuff! Look at this atmosphere in here, it's unbelievable.
To face the best of the A-Leagues, all in one place.
That is champagne football!
The Winter Festival of Football starts July 26 on Paramount Plus.
What are you doing?
We're planking.
It's because of our internet providers.
We're stuck in 2011.
Same slow internet speeds.
And high prices.
It's like a nightmare.
Enough planking. Superloop is a network purpose-built for the super-fast future of the internet.
You are free.
Don't take it lying down, Australia. Refresh your internet.
Welcome back to Frank Drago Reserve in Western Australia. Bayswater City in action against Sydney FC, the two-time cup winners. And over east, the news may have reached WA of the 23rd cup set in the history of the Hahn Australia Cup at BT Connor Reserve. Preston Lions have knocked off the Australia Cup winners, Newcastle Jets. And at 2-1 down, the door is ajar for Bayswater City to try and do the same in front of their home crowd. It is Sydney FC, the visitors, in a 2-1 ascendancy with 45 minutes, possibly more to play. One finished in the 90, going the way of the NPL side. Another off to extra time. Here's the third and final NPL v A-League affair of the evening's cup action. Going to be a more comfortable affair for the side in the lead in Sydney FC. For the next 45 minutes, we're going to find out. It's a really fascinating first 45. Sydney FC were picking up the blocks, remarkably sharp. Took the lead after just 20 minutes, courtesy of Tiago Quintal for Cameron Teese, the man you just saw on your screen. Brought Bayswater back level with an equaliser from the corner. Less than 2 minutes after finding that leveler there. First goal on the national stage of the Australia Cup since they were last here, a 5-2 loss some 6 years ago. Matthias McAllister had turned the ball in for what was, it must be mentioned, the second of 2 assists for 17-year-old Colin Conn in the first half. So Sydney FC will be looking to build on their advantage as they look to make this one comfortable before taking on Tottenham next week in the Sydney Super Cup. Bayswater will look to build back to level pegging once more. It was a Bayswater equaliser out of nowhere. They had certainly found their footing back in the game. Has the wind been taken out of their sails by that 38th minute go-ahead goal? Does the Baysy belief still linger? What little possession they have had, Bayswater, they have made the most of it. 4 shots, all on target from 27% possession so far. The question, of course, will be at what point either side might inject fresh faces into this encounter. Chris Jackson, the player who looms large for Bayswater, 10 goals for him this season, top scorer. J-League veteran, 2-time Asian Champions League winner Takahiro Sakine is in reserve for Sydney FC. Slot is pressured into playing it straight out of play for a throw. He'll have to set himself for a set-piece situation, because if the first half and the vast portion of their season this year, Bayswater is any evidence, this is going long and as far into the box as the former Sterling Macedonia man Brent Quick can get it. It's a lot of purchase, and Sydney FC can't clear. Quick finds an opening. Still going, Brent Quick, really well marshalled by Jordan Courtney-Perkins. The speed of Brent Quick is able to earn a corner for Bayswater. It's their reliable route to an equaliser. It's a flat one in at the front post, the last touch for Sydney FC defender. Take 2 for West Australia's boys in blue. Sydney had their first two corners in the opening 2 minutes. Bayswater have built their barrage. Double punch away by Hoofslot. Launch back in. It's a decent flick, but from a player in an offside position, so no real threats to the Sydney FC nets. First 23 cup sets, Sydney FC account for just 2. 2024 and 2022, both against the Oakley Cannons. Sky Blues otherwise a very reliable side in the Australia Cup. Two-time winners, two-time finalists. They've only exited at the round of 32 twice in their history. And only the Wanderers failed at the opening hurdle less. So they expect to go through, but A-League sides often do. The job is still there to be done. Kinsale, a really nice attack brewing here. De Jesus, it's well thwarted at full stretch by Pat Lowry. To tee up Matthias McAllister. Zach de Jesus playing in a more advanced role tonight. Decided against going in search of what would be a first senior goal. Grant is lurking, flicks on. Lumped away by Kobe Sutton. Jesus has tracked back a mile to make himself a passing option. Game against NPL opposition in the Cup for Sydney FC. One of those two aforementioned losses against Oakley, they've been a dominant force when they've taken on the semi-pro class in the national rounds. It didn't look likely in the opening 20 minutes. Bayswater have made them work. This is a nice manoeuvre forward. It's in for a third for Sydney. It's a really quality goal. And it's a second of the evening for Tiago Kinsale, who just continues to show his capacity to pull top quality out of very little indeed. And Kolakon has a hat trick of assists after 52 minutes. It was a rasping drive from Kinsale, who loped into the penalty area, didn't think twice, and had the beating of Luis Italiano. 2 for Tiago, 3 for Sydney, and a nice insurance policy in their quest to reach the round of 16 in the West. It is an uphill battle, unless it's an instant reply of Bayswater's own. Legalia. Easy pickings for Hoofslot. Hoping to put his foot forward during this injury absence for Harrison Devonish-Mears. She listed has had surgery in the off-season, albeit a minor one, just an abdominal procedure that was tough according to Patrick Isnorbo, but not one that will keep him out for a very long time. Corness. It's a pill for Bayswater to swallow that third for Sydney FC, it's a way back now. Hahn, provider for all three, not able to receive from Quintal. Yuli. Garuccio. Game just slowing to a casual pace here. Garuccio looking to up the ante. Camijo. Sal has been Sky Blues everywhere man this evening. Off the back of brilliant season. Could be set for another. Garuccio keeps that alive and away from the clutches momentarily. Brent Quick. Quintal finally stepped into that starting fold and made himself a first 11 regular after so many appearances as a impact sub. It took him 21 before he got his first start last season. Didn't come out very often once he got in. Such was his quality. Lagalia. Just out-muscled, outgunned by Jordan Courtney-Perkins. Interesting phase of this game here. Sydney have emerged from the second half seriously switched on. Got their third goal. Oh, that is a poor one. This could be an opportunity, but Hoofslot able to atone for his initial error. 3-1 the scoreline. This goal, if it does arrive, is a critical one. To pull one back. It is back on for young and old in a game they can throw everything at. Fourth for Sydney, and they will start to think about eclipsing the last A-League team to travel to play an NPL opponent in WA. Sydney Wanderers 6-1 winners against Floreat Athena back in 2023, a memorable match in the Australia Cup record books. Lockie Brooks scoring 5. Hahn could set the record for most assists in a game. He could get 5 at this rate. Teese has done really well there to keep the ball Baysies, but undoes all of his good work. His attempts to thread the needle for Ollie Lagalia. Grant. To move the referee out of the way there. The Sky Blue super veteran. So that's what cut out for him so far. Paul Yaris. Bayswater did rather well to get under the skin of Sydney in that critical period where West Australian reigning champions, the double winners, were able to equalise. Garuccio. Yuli turns away from the trouble of Jonathan Corness. I get the feeling that if Sydney are able to break this phase in their build-up, that opportunities to add to the tally may open up for them. Garuccio and Grant, the two fullbacks combining. Very interesting stuff. Hahn checking inside. Garuccio, Yuli fancied his chances, then thought better of it. Quintal's on hat-trick watch. De Jesus, the lifter, headed to the top of the penalty area. Yuli to be a Repeat of his feat from the round of 16 last season against Sydney United. Will remain for now the young midfielder's only sky blue goal. Shot count remains level. What Sydney FC have had in this game, they have utilised. When their openings have arrived, they have extracted. It's Italiano. I'm sure has had to make a serious save to pick the ball out of the net. That's a hot and heavy one. And Sky Blue players already in waiting. De Jesus, McAllister! Now Italiano's made a big stop. Yuli. Still going, Yuli! And Italiano follows up with a second in quick succession. And that time the veteran goalkeeper was made to work. Was up to the occasion. We'll touch that out. McAllister, while Italiano did well to make his body big. Back at the tape and maybe wish he didn't put that quite so close to the keeper, I'm sure. Patrick Isnorbo is feeling similarly as some subs look like they're getting ready to make their way onto the pitch. It's a 4-on-1 for the Sky Blues, who now have long throw defending to do, just as they have from the last few long throws. Will now have corner defending to do. Wow, out of Australia Cup this is shaping to be. In comes the corner. It's all the way through off a Sydney FC player. Colacon. Oh, how good is that from the 17-year-old? Just top class. And now the runners are forward. Quintal's on for the hat-trick. Plays it off to De Jesus. Empty net. And a first Sky Blue goal for the boyhood Sydney FC fan to make it 4-1 to the visitors. The Sky Blues scythe open Bayswater. And Zach De Jesus gets his first goal as a senior Sydney FC player. With an empty net, it couldn't have come much easier, but that's a special moment. It's the young core combining. It all started from that fancy footwork of a Colacon. Quintal, who's scored 2, has an assist to go with it. And that's one to savour. Zach De Jesus grew up Sky Blues supporter. Just the one game last year, brought out of the cold by Patrick Isnorbo. Couldn't get a look in under Ufuk Talay. Trusted from the start tonight. Taking full advantage. That has said about some substitutions for both sides. Anthony Bafabusha has come on for Bayswater, and replacing Reece Yuli, who was on that yellow card for Sydney. Just a second senior Sydney FC appearance. Joe Lacey is on the ball now, the number 29, has played it into trouble. Ollie Legalia can only feed it down the throats. Gus Hoofslot. Lacey, 19-year-old, has been a busy boy in the off-season, representing Wales, which he is eligible to do through his heritage at the under-19 Euros. And the Sky Blues, the youngsters, have got the bit between their teeth now. Quintal shapes onto the right. Oh, that's fantastic! A hat-trick of the finest quality from Thiago Quintal. And a 5-star attacking performance from Sydney FC. Does have a 5th goal to go with it. Patrick Isnorbo's men are running away with it now in the West. And every time they come forward now, they look like scoring. So too does he. Thiago Quintal A very similar goal to his second. But just as easy on the eye as the previous. If he wasn't poised to explode in season 26-27 already, he is definitely looking likely now, Thiago Quintal. A first Sky Blue hat-trick. CFC have come out of the sheds at half-time and just blown Bayswater away. It's been a supremely impressive performance from the present and future stars of the Sky Blue faction. It's all the way out for a goal kick. Here's another look. It's a measure of a top-class player who can execute almost the same move twice and manage to make it stick on both occasions. There's a confirmation of that substitution we mentioned earlier. Anthony Baffa-Busher, the midfielder, coming on for Daniel Steins, who could only manage up to the hour mark on his return from injury. Camijo. It's going to open up again here, is it? No, Palmateer able to snuff that one out to Jesus. Just providing the threat down the right flank. Joe Lacey, who made a name for himself in an international friendly against Wrexham last season, scoring a winner against the Media Darlings, the championship outfit. Next week against Tottenham is Thiago Quintal, who is leaving the field alongside Matthias McAllister, fresh off a hat-trick. Going to add his name. Doesn't get any easier for Bayswater. Two new signings coming on here for Sydney FC. A well-earned rest for the hat-trick scorer, Thiago Quintal. And on for Sydney FC debuts. It's a return to the West for Sydney FC's new number 16, Gabriel Popovic. 22-year-old who scored a couple of goals. His first two in the A-League for Perth Glory last season. He is on alongside a bit of a headline acquisition for Sydney FC. 31-year-old Takahiro Sakine, captain of the Urawa Red Diamonds. He's arrived at the club. Two-time Asian Champions League winner. Lacey has overcooked that intended forward foray for Ben Garuccio. We want to see if you're the semi-pro side who have got A-League opponents 4 goals clear. Who is a legendary figure in his home club of Urawa, where he spent 12 years. Bayswater respond with a couple of their own substitutions. It's Petrascu first onto the field for just a 6th appearance of the season. And here comes on alongside their top goal scorer, Chris Jackson. 10 goals in NPLWA this year. 36 in his last 60 games in the league for Bayswater. He's the goal-scoring ace. West Australia Just to flex those talents, it will be consolatory. Popovic shoot too much of the ball to Palmatia. It's a lovely first introduction from Takahiro Sakine. To get to the byline, will win himself a corner. Quality. The Japanese Youth International on display. So he came to Australia 3 years ago on a holiday, watched a bit of A-League, and has had the thought to come down under ever since. Some good recommendations from other players across the A-League, but more on that later as Sydney take the corner short. Sakine. Garuccio. Akolakon rides the challenge, and Italiano bats it away with that left paw. It's the deny. Akolakon, a bit of history. Sky blue colours. Camijo. Sakine. See, get back to Camijo. Sydney FC going to reset. As mentioned, Sakine did have some good recommendations to come and play in the A-League from some of his former teammates. Here he is on the ball again. Sakine cutting it square. Jackson Stevens gets his body in the way. Popovic puts it up well. Garuccio. Plenty to aim at in the penalty area. And will it stay alive here for another crack for Sydney? It's a bit messy. Lacey steals in. He goes down. Free kick coming on the edge of the box for Sydney FC. I'll be pleased to get a nice opportunity after all of that, because they made life a little bit difficult getting in each other's way in the breakdown of that particular attacking opportunity. This would be quite the way to announce yourself. As John Lacey gets a bit of feedback from the bench. We'll see, standing over the dead ball, Ben Garuccio. Track record of good goals. A few he has scored in the A-League. Takahiro Sakine looking to announce his signing in style, but hits it straight into the wall. Flicked on by Akolakon. He will try to pick the ball back up. A little hurried and harried for Bayswater in defence, who will have a goal to savour on their long-awaited return to the national rounds. It's gone in some ways better than their last matchup with A-League opposition, all the way back in the first year of the Cup against Melbourne Victory back in 2014. They have scored. They lost 2-0 that day, but the margin has become greater. You'll remember the roar at Frank Drago. Sakine. A well-weighted pass for Garuccio. Kolakon with a rare erroneous moment this evening. Bafabusha. May be pleased. His young side have shown so far this evening. Matt Sparrow, he knew his side were in for a test tonight. Certainly got that, as he'll turn to the bench. Once again, the goal scorer Cameron Teese is coming off. This is Kobe Sutton. The Bayswater living legend makes his way onto the field. And Sam Mitchinson, over 200 appearances with Baysy across a couple of stints, a two-time Marco D'Orazio medalist. That's their Player of the Season award. And Babor Sam, who has built a reputation as a fan favourite at Baysy, back there this year, having been a member of their undefeated premiership winning side back in 2015, is the other player who comes off the field. Spent a long time in the Victorian footballing system of late. Babor Sam, at the start of 2025, he was playing State League 4, which is the 7th tier in Victoria. The 7th tier to A-League opposition tonight. As Akolakon is given one to chase and finds a way through, but not without a bit of illegal intervention in the eyes of Michael Ulyaris. Certainly left nothing out there in his attempts to win back the ball. Star continuing to rise. Akolakoni signed an extension through to the end of the 28-29 season. Sydney in the off-season. And here's a nice moment at the tail end of tonight's fixture. It's a Sydney FC debut for 19-year-old Samuel Lancaster. It's a double debut, in fact. Sam Lancaster has come on. And the other, number 28, you can just see trying to defend this Bayswater foray is 17-year-old Ethan Dyer. So two products of the Sky Blue Youth Academy coming onto the field for the final 15 minutes. Dyer, just 17 years of age, signed a scholarship deal yesterday. Current under-17 captain of the New Zealand national team, who is eligible to represent through his father. Lancaster, products of South Hobart in Tasmania prior to coming into the Sydney Academy, where he's been for 3 seasons. There he is wearing the number 38. Bit of a Sydney FC connection at South Hobart. Got a bit of a partnership, and their former members of their coaching ranks. Peter Edwards is the current head coach. It's been a dream return to the round of 32, really, for Patrick Kisnorbo. 5 goals, some very impressive passing football. And as if the young starters weren't enough, the young substitutes are now getting their chance to be involved. The clever flick from Babor Sam, but no one was racing to retrieve it. Dyer, who have paid attention to Sydney FC's Youth Academy, as that one is a poor pass. A chance for Popovic to score on his debut. He tried to cut it back for Akolakon. And that fateful touch just saving a 6th for Bayswater. Lancaster. Dyer steals in. Many of those who get up early and watch the games in Sydney FC's youth ranks in their NPL New South Wales campaign, currently sitting inside the top 6, will not be surprised to see the likes of Lancaster and Dyer getting a chance at senior level. In particular, a player who has shown composure beyond his years. He was playing as a 15-year-old points last year. And the striker tried to do the unselfish thing, and one of the rare occasions in which that was the wrong call from Gabi Popovic. Could have gone for glory to announce himself to his new side. Lancaster. Short of Courtney Perkins' best. Quick Bafabusha. That's more like it from Courtney Perkins, who's picked up the free kick. They've battled hard. Bayswater, Brent Quick has, as his name would imply, shown plenty of pace down the flanks. But the mights, the fights, the fitness and the technical acumen of Sydney has just proved to be a little bit too much, especially in the second half. I mean, the advantage for the NPL side to in the peak of their season is that fitness flags as the game goes on, but as the scoreline reflects, it is Sydney FC who have closed this game out the strongest. And Patrick Kisnorbo is not a relenting figure. He'll be rather interested, you would imagine, in extending this advantage. Young guns out there who will want to put their best foot forward to take on Tottenham and Allianz Stadium in the Sydney Super Cup in the coming week. Season campaign where players will be champing at the bit to be involved at regular intervals in the A-League season. Of course, it starts with a bang for Sydney FC, a Friday night season opening Sydney derby against the Wanderers in October. Quick. The dancing feet make something happen. Petrascu. Mitchinson. It's a well-weighted ball. It's really nicely judged by Hoofslot. Adds to the intrigue for Sydney FC is side who have started the season so impressively is still missing a number of first-team players. No Harrison Devonish-Mears, Victor Campothano, Hassan Toure, and Gerd, who's come back from a loan in Thailand, and signing Jake Holman. Be great to see him back in the A-League this season. Popovic. What's the appetite like for a Sydney sixth? Garuccio exchanging with Hahn. Popovic goes to ground. Waved away by Michael Ulyaris. Garuccio picked out. Popovic is lurking. Palmatier in the way. And Italiano heeds the call of his central defender. So the cup run will end for Bayswater City on the national rounds, but the State Cup will not. Take on Fremantle City for a shot at silverware, and there is still the small matter of a red hot, as it currently looks, 3-horse race for the Premiership between Bayswater, Olympic Kingsway and Perth Red Star. Just 3 points between them, and Bayswater with a game in hand. Sydney resetting through hoof slots. Lacey. Sakina. Former teammate of Hiroki Sakai. In an Asian Champions League together. You have to imagine he was amongst the party consulted for review upon the idea of making an A-League move. To play with Kazuki Nagasawa as well of the Wellington Phoenix. Curious to see where Patrick Kisnorbo deploys the Japanese veteran this year. Play either side of a front three. Spent a couple of seasons as a fullback as well as stints in central midfield. Sydney FC tick over 600 passes. They had 75% possession at the break. I wager that they have increased that margin. Yes, we'll find out when the full-time stats roll in a couple of minutes plus stoppage. Even though the results all but assured, Patrick Kisnorbo still barking instructions, and Sam Mitchinson still fighting for his beloved club. Spent time at the A-League level with Perth Glory and Melbourne Heart, as they were known then. The memory backs of some younger fans. Melbourne City, for the uninitiated. Gariccio. Good looking on the first glance outside of the foot pass. Lancaster with a bit of composure. Bafabusha. It's Popovic. A fair bit of the football in the last couple of seconds. So they're starting to put their opponents under a bit of pressure. They've been happy to sit back in recent times. Popovic, another who's been the beneficiary of the arrival of Patrick Kisnorbo, has not missed a minute since the new boss has come in. Lowry. Find open passage to a teammate. The openings have been few and far and fleeting in the second stanza for Bayswater. De Jesus. Lacey. Surprise us in the minutes that remain, but Sydney FC can seem themselves fairly content with a 5-1 scoreline. Truth be told, they have done well to avoid the strife that has befallen some of the other A-League clubs this evening. Australia Cup holders out in the 90 against Preston Lions. Lions FC and Perth Glory are headed to penalties in Queensland. Popovic couldn't pick the gap for Sakina. Garuccio. A few more windows of opportunity left in this for Sydney. Akolakon still has plenty of energy, cuts it square. Popovic couldn't sort his feet. And a golden chance to open his sky blue account goes begging. If you can believe it, it would have been a fourth. It's a fourth assist of the game for Akolakon. It's an emphatic advance for Sydney FC to the round of 16. Bayswater threw down the gauntlet in the opening 45. A sky blue blitz in the second 45 proved too hot to handle. Bayswater's return to the national stage has been doused by a confident and commanding performance from the Sky Blues, who emerge 5-1 victors, headlined by a Tiago Quintal hat-trick. Full time from Frank Drago. Bayswater City 1, Sydney FC 5. It's about as perfect a start to the new season as you can ask for Sydney FC. A special start for the likes of Sam Lancaster and Ethan Dyer, who've just exchanged a handshake after making their Sydney FC debuts. The journey for Bayswater, who have been humbled this evening against a very strong A-League opponent, but will have been very happy to get back here after 7 years of wait. Here's the man who will be talked about by many after tonight. I think he's trying to talk to the referees to consult them as to where he's going to get his match ball after 3 of the best from 20-year-old Tiago Quintal. Hat-trick of goals for him, a hat-trick of assists for Akolakon. It wasn't long before Quintal was back on the scoring act. A very similar move, the exact same result. 3 of the best in every sense for a supreme 20-year-old Sky Blue talent. And the stats do reflect Sydney FC's second half dominance. That shot count was level at 4 apiece at the break. Sydney FC breezed by with 12 second half shots. Nearly 3/4 of the possession. They weren't impenetrable from go to woe, but they really turned on the charm when it was required to reach the round of 16. It's a very happy set of combatants getting their round of 16 pennants. Still waiting to see the potential opponents that await them. And it's still going between Lions and Perth Glory FC. The penalty shootout underway for the potential second of 2 cup sets tonight, as Preston Lions came from the clouds 2-0 down to beat Newcastle Jets, the Australia Cup holders, out in the round of 32, while Heidelberg United, who made the final last year, had it far more comfortable in South Australia against the second tier side Cumberland United. result has just crashed in. Lions, the winners on penalties. Doesn't that set the scene for another mouth-watering Night of Australia Cup action tomorrow? It starts in the Capital Territory. Tigers welcoming the Western Sydney Wanderers to Canberra. Maitland and Fremantle, West Australia's sole representative left, will look to fly the flag. And the big juicy one is at Adenta Park. Sydney United taking on the Central Coast Mariners as Macarthur make the trip to the top end to take on Azuri United. Some upset potential in Sydney perhaps tomorrow. But no cup set potential for Sydney FC here at Frank Drago Reserve. They get their season started in style. 5 goals, a 5-star performance, a headline-raising result en route to the round of 16. We hope you've enjoyed the